So, welcome. I'm Libby Gill, and today I'm going to share some secrets to career acceleration for you. I love this topic and I get a lot of questions about it. So, my goal is to give you some strategies that you can use to really fast track your own career. And my intention is to share some things that have taken me between 15 about 18 years in the corporate world and now 16. I'm going on my 16th year as a business owner. So I want to share some of the things that helped me in my career as well as some of the pitfalls. And my plan for this webinar will take about 45 minutes or so, is to share with you the top 5 career killers that I see, the things you really need to know that can stall your career. 3 questions you should be asking all the time, although you've got to do it strategically and carefully and gracefully in order to climb the career ladder faster. The key secret, my key strategy for managing up, that's managing your boss and stakeholders that could also be clients and customers that you work with. And the number one reason that your boss may not be promoting you, because what you don't know about your career really can hurt you. So I want to share some insider secrets. So buckle up, take some notes, get ready to rock your career world. Here we go. I'll also have a special invitation for you, and I'm going to pack in as much value as I possibly can in this next hour, but stick with me to the end because I've got a great bonus, really high value bonus at the end. And I'll tell you just straight up that this bonus is not going to be for everyone. I've spent nearly 30 years, as I mentioned, managing and motivating people. And I know that about 40% of you on this call right now are just kind of dipping a toe in case you pick up something useful, a little tip or a strategy that you can apply, and that's perfectly okay. Another 40% or so of you are going to listen in, but you're checking your email, you're shopping online, you're making dinner, you're doing whatever you're doing, and that's okay too, but I can't promise you'll get a ton of value. But I would say about 20% of you are here because you not only want to make some of those little tweaks that can affect your career right away, but you're looking for a big, bold solution. Some real shortcuts that can help you get to the top, can help you get where you're going faster, with less stress, with more joy, with more fun than you would on your own. And even if you're not quite sure what's next for you, a lot of this will apply. And those of you who are the ones who are ready to take action, you're the ones, you got my heart already. You're the people I love to work with. So you be sure to stick around because this will be really interesting for you. Quick bit of background about me. Some of you know this, some brand new to me that I'm seeing here on the call, and I'm really glad for those of you who are old friends and those of you who are new here. Either way, it's just terrific to see you. I started my career working for a television distribution company, and it was founded by a famous guy in the TV world named Norman Lear. And that company, even though I wanted to work for a small company where I thought I would learn and I'd be mentored and all that great stuff, that company was very quickly bought by Columbia Pictures, which was then bought by Coca-Cola and then was sold to Sony. Those were enough management changes right there to kind of make you want to jump under your desk and hide out. But after 3 months as an assistant, I was assistant to the head of PR at that company and all the way up through Sony. And after 3 months, someone quit. Ironically, someone else named Libby, which had never happened in my life before, that there were 2 Libbys in one place at one time. And she quit to start her own agency. And I just raised my hand and said, may I have her job? And I'll never forget what my boss said. He would give me, and mind you, I'd been in that job and in the corporate world, my first real job for a total of 3 months. I raised my hand and asked for the job. And he said, I'll give you a try, but I'm going to fill your job. So if it doesn't work out, there's no going back. And I said yes. And I kept going. And in those 5 years, when it went from Embassy Communications to Columbia Pictures to Coca-Cola to Sony Pictures Entertainment, I got 5 promotions in those 5 years and ended up as VP for what by then was Sony's Worldwide Television Group. And after that, I went on to head public relations and communications at Turner and Universal. And in my mid 40s, well, actually in my late 40s, and you could do the math, I founded my first business, which is my executive coaching and consulting business, and still going strong today. I'm an award-winning author of 4 books, an international speaker. I've made tons of media appearances on places like CNN and NPR, The Today Show, the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, lots of places. And I'm not telling you this to be arrogant, but to show you what is possible. I didn't know any more than, and a lot less, I will tell you, than many of you. But and I was going to say I wasn't afraid to raise my hand, but the truth was I was afraid to raise my hand, but I did it anyway. My big entertainment job, my last big entertainment job, was launching the Dr. Phil show. And I guess you know how that turned out. Dr. Phil said about me in the foreword to my second book, which I wrote, called Traveling Hopefully, How to Lose Your Family Baggage and Jumpstart Your Life. Dr. Phil said, Libby Gill is one of those people who gets it. Which was pretty high praise from the straight talking Dr. Phil, as you can imagine. But more important than my story is, what is your story? If you're on this call, and I really believe people show up when they do for a reason. I truly believe that you're here for a reason, and that you've got something in you, something more you want to do, and you probably fit in one, if not several, of these categories. You want to give greater value to your customers, your clients, to your organization. There's more that you want to do. You want to feel a greater sense of purpose and what gets you out of bed every day and why you come to work. You want to master some new skills, some new growth opportunities. You're not content to keep doing what you're doing. You've got to do more. You've got to learn something. You want to really be in the thick of it. And I'm right with you. I'm one of those too. In fact, I probably shouldn't share this, but I will, since I wrote about it in a book. My ex-husband, a good guy, but he used to call me the malcontent, because whatever I was doing, I was looking over the next hill, and I expect that some of you are exactly the same. You want to make more money. Nothing wrong with that. If you're one of those people who feels awkward about that, doesn't want to admit it, get over it. The more you have, the more you can share, the more you can give. End of that story. And finally, you want to work with really awesome people at amazing companies where you can do big things, right? So I suspect that is why you're on that call. One or more of those things speaks to your heart and soul. And where are you now? I really want to think that I've got something for all of you. You may be pretty junior in the workforce. Maybe you're brand new. Maybe you're just out of college or business school. You're really a newbie in the corporate or entrepreneurial world, and you want a little bit of a jump start, some basic survival skills, so you don't mess anything up, right? We've all had that feeling. Oh my gosh, I hope they don't figure out I don't know what I'm doing, or I hope they don't find out I'm a total fraud. But we're not going to let that happen. If you're new in your career, you're not going to build expertise overnight. That takes time. But you can position yourself as a superstar in training, a force to be reckoned with, and someone that management needs to keep their eye on. Maybe you're a mid-level manager, or a new or mid-level senior manager right now. You've already got some people that you're managing, a team, and you want to make sure you are truly perceived as leadership material, that senior management is going to take you under its wing and say, hey, we're going to give you the sponsorship and the opportunities that are going to sweep you to the top. You've got to make sure, though, that they see that potential. You can't leave that to granted. Or maybe you are already a leader, a senior leader in your business, in your career, or as a business owner, and you're ready for that next big thing. It might even be your last big job before you enter what I call, what I'm in, the legacy phase, where you get to do really fun stuff and you get to give a lot more back. But what you want to do is leverage everything you know, everything you've done, everything you've built, to get that next great position where you really set up that next phase of your life. So wherever you are on this path, these career acceleration secrets are really for you, because I know it is hard to get ahead. Believe me, I have been there, where I've felt like, not only felt like, but known I've had no guidance, no support, no help, no clear path, no recognition, no idea how to get ahead. And I can remember thinking, there's got to be some better way to do this. There's got to be some sort of secret, some proven pathway to get ahead. And when I say I've been there, I mean it, because check this out. When I was in my early 20s, I got my degree in theater. I got a minor in dance, maybe not the best start for the corporate world, but that's who I was. And here's how I started my career with those big dreams and aspirations. As a dancing bear at Knott's Berry Farm in Orange County. That was me, the baby bear right there. That's where I started my career in my early 20s, when I thought, hey, I'm going to get up to the top of the career ladder. Well, it's funny now. It makes a great story. It wasn't so funny back then, especially after I did a couple of commercials. I had a little part on a soap opera, and I discovered that even with that, I was in the top 5 percentile of wage earners in the television union, my guild, which was AFTRA, making a whopping $12,000 in my best year. And I was definitely thinking, there's got to be a better way. And that's when it just came to me, a lot of studying, a lot of praying, a lot of thinking, a lot of reading, that I really needed to step into my power. I was a smart young person. I had some good creative chops. I was an excellent writer even back then. And I thought, I've just got to do it. Put my nose to the grindstone, put myself out there, and get on that fast track. Now, after that great corporate career that I had, and I chose to leave, it was a great career, corner office, great salary, all of that. And also, it was the sole support of my family. Built a really successful career, and then went on to build my executive coaching and consulting business that I truly love. I've spoken all over the country and around the world, from the Caribbean to Kuwait. That's a picture of me speaking to a group of entrepreneurs in Kuwait. I published those 4 books, and I was just approached by actually the biggest business press in the country about writing my 5th. And so my question for you is, if there's something more for you, if there's something bigger, better calling you, what are you waiting for? When do you decide to step into your power? And if you feel like, I'm pretty powerful already, what's that boost you need to get you to the next level? And I'll tell you, I'm not an economist. Don't pretend to be. But times are pretty good. This is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I mean, all you have to do is think back to 2008 through 2010. Obviously, we have seen a huge improvement in the economic climate, in the workforce since then, just in terms of job growth. And back then, most of my clients, they were happy to hang on to whatever job they had for dear life. Very few people were looking for change or growth, but things have changed now. And yes, while there will always be ups and downs, but by the end of last year, the end of 2015, we had seen 69 months of consecutive growth in the US private sector. That's pretty good. And by the way, that spills over into other things like nonprofit. That's a big, slow, but big and consistent growth for us in this country. And I know there are a number of you from other countries on this call, and I don't have the stats for you, but you get my point. There is reason to be optimistic. And even more important, now is the time, and I hear this regularly from my HR folks that I work with, human resources and organization development folks in corporations and in businesses, and also from people in hiring positions, anybody that hires other folks, about how hard it is for them to find great talent. I mean, can you imagine that? A few years ago, that was unheard of. But now they're fighting for the talent pool, which just demonstrates that there are opportunities out there. So you need to take advantage of the growth, whether that's inside your company. And I'm always a big believer in, look inside first. Don't be afraid to look around inside the organization. And if nothing is happening there, and that's an individual judgment call, and I've helped a lot of people make it, is it's never a bad thing to look outside. And I'm going to talk just a little bit more about that. But even with all this opportunity, there's a little bit of a problem. It's not to say that there are not obstacles in front of you. One is the fact that there's a lot of competition. People who had checked out of the workforce are getting back in. We're also at the lowest unemployment rate. So folks who were on the sidelines have jumped back in. And those are a lot of high-powered folks because they were consulting or sitting out or taking time off. They're back. They're ready to roll back in the corporate and the small business world. So they're out there. Another problem can be perception about you, about your ability. Sometimes it's real, sometimes it's not. But as we used to say in my world of branding and public relations, perception is reality. So whether you're trying to build perception or change perception, it's really, anybody having trouble hearing me? I just got a sign, can't hear me. Is that accurate? Are you hearing? You can hear me. Okay. All right. So somebody on your end, you may be having a problem. And once in a while, GoToWebinar is the industry standard. But if you have any trouble hearing, seeing any of that, because it looks like all systems go, just get back in. And you can also dial in if you need to. That's another way to get in. Just dial in on your phone. Okay. Thanks. Emma says crystal clear. Thank you for that. So perception about your ability, and as hard as it can be to create initial perception, it can be harder to change the perception that you're a leader, that you're a potential leader, that you're ready to move up. And so you've got to make sure that you know how to combat any sort of negative perception or just a limited view of what you can do. People tend to pigeonhole, to slot you in. And boy, was I always resistant to that. Another thing is not getting the right feedback, not getting honest feedback, not getting timely feedback. Sometimes you get it about your projects or your work product or your results, but you don't get it about your career growth. The complaint, the problem I hear most often from people is that nobody seems to care about my career path. And you got to take that into hand. I'm going to tell you more about that. Another thing is, and the reason you don't get more feedback is your boss or your HR partner, they don't have the time, they don't have the energy, they don't have the inclination. And in some businesses, they just don't have the kind of training or even the inclination to mentor you, to sponsor you, to help you get to the next rung. And frankly, some people are happy for you to be where you are. That's what I call being a utility player. They know you're good at what you do, and they're happy to throw you in anywhere to get the job done. But they don't really think of you as a superstar, certainly not as who's gonna complain or raise their hand. And that can lock you into that utility player role. And if you're locked in there too long, it's near impossible to get out. So let's look at how you win this game of career advancement, because one thing I know for sure, you can't win the game if you don't know the rules. And once you know the rules, and that's the rules of your culture and your organization, and be aware there are spoken rules, like some of the big tech companies I love who say, take all the vacation you want, completely on you. But what they don't say is, but we're going to penalize you in some way if you do. You've got to know the spoken and the unspoken rules. And once you know them, you got to be willing to break them and to make up some new ones. So here are a few of mine. First, the 5 big career killer mistakes that I see most often. First, you don't have the hard skills. That is the high level technical, strategic, financial operations, whatever kind of skill you are hired for. You just haven't demonstrated, not just that you don't have the skills for your job, which obviously you have to have, but the skills for the next job. The old adage is you've got to do the job before you get promoted into it is absolutely true. Second, and this may be even more important, is you don't have the soft skills. The soft skills like communication, collaboration. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But soft skills can often make up for a deficit in hard skills. And if you don't believe me, just look around your workplace and see who gets by on personality alone. There are always a few of them in the mix that you scratch your head and say, how did she or he get there? Everybody likes them, but they don't really have much to offer. And you just think, wow, it's just the emperor's new clothes. Third is you don't use feedback effectively. Either you're not getting it, you're not using it, and this is critical at every level. Please tell me this is not you, but there are lots of people who just plain have a lousy attitude. If you've ever gotten the eye rolls, the pushback, the bad appraisals, your annual review or comments from your boss that you're a whiner, you're a complainer, you're not a team player, any variation of that theme, you got to nip that in the bud, and we'll talk about that. And finally, you've got a 9 to 5 mentality, and it's showing. You have to have a leadership mindset to get to the next level. People don't want to think, wow, you're just a paid worker. You may be on an hourly paycheck, but they want to see that you've got that commitment and the dedication. So let me share some of my solutions. And I've coached literally at this point, one-on-one, hundreds of people through my books, seminars, speaking, thousands of people. The first thing you need to do to make a big difference to turn that around, you need to demonstrate results. The first thing that shows that you got the skill is to show the results. And when I say demonstrate, I mean, you can't just assume that people see what you're doing, that they know what you're doing. The old, well, if I do a good job, people will reward me. Good luck with that. That's not the case for most people. You've got to find strategic and also graceful ways. Emphasis on the graceful. You can't be overbearing. You can't put a gun to anybody's head. You've got to find ways to put the spotlight on your own accomplishments. You need to ramp up your executive presence. That includes communication, confidence, everything from the way you look to the way you sound. If you've been on my webinars in the past, you know I could do a half day or more on executive presence. You've got to play the part. They've got to see you as someone who can step into that leadership role. One way you can really get feedback, when I come in hired by the company, I'll do a 360 assessment where I get that whole full circle perspective from your supervisors and stakeholders, your peers and colleagues, your direct reports, to really get the story on you. And I do it differently than most of my colleagues. But one thing you can do, I call it my own personal LG, that's me, LG 360. And you can go to my blog on libbygill.com and just put down in the bottom perception or how you are perceived, and I can walk you through. Basically, you want to ask 5 people that you trust, not your best friend, not your mom, not your spouse or significant other, for honest feedback about your strengths and weaknesses. And you can get some really good feedback. It takes some guts. It takes real fortitude. You may not like what you hear, and all you can say when you get the feedback is, thank you. That's it. End of story. Or how can I help you in return? Finally, if you've got that attitude problem, you got to change your self-talk. You cannot be the person who's going around with that kind of fearful, negative, a chip on your shoulder. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be around you. They get off the elevator, they go the other way down the hallway if you're that person. So start being grateful for what you've got. Start looking for ways that you can help other people, ways that you can build other people's careers. You can help them on the job. Be that I'm going to go the extra mile. What can I do to help you? Problem solver. Let go of limiting assumptions. Focus on what would make you joyful, what would make you connected, what would make you feel excited about coming to work. And you'll see some of those limiter attitudes start to change. Finally, you got to be your boss's go-to problem solver. Like Rachel Kane, my executive assistant, Emma Robertson, who is our content director. Oh my gosh, there's the people that solve my problems, and I try to solve theirs as well. We work as a team. You want to be the one who says, I can do it. I can learn it. I'll figure it out. That person with the attitude, that can-do attitude, and then who really gets the job done. That is the most important thing you can do to really combat that perception that, hey, I'm just a utility player. I'm walking through the motions. I'm doing what I have to do, but I'm not going to that next level. You want to be not just a worker or somebody who's working for a paycheck, or somebody even who's got a career. You want to have a calling. And it's not to say that the job you have today is the one you have to stay in, but people have to believe you're committed and that you care. And now let me give you 3 questions you need to be asking, things you need to be aware of all the time, that it's fair for you as an employee to ask. I don't care if you're a newbie or you're all the way up the ladder, but you should be asking, whether it's up, down, or sideways, what can I do better? How can I be better? What do you need? Train your supervisor, train your colleagues and your clients, your stakeholders to give you feedback. If you're a business owner like I am, I ask and I get it. Believe me, I read every evaluation, I read every comment, I read every complaint. One complaint will teach you a lot more than a whole bunch of positive comments. Somebody's noisy there. I'm going to ask you to mute yourself. I think it's here, and I got it. And so you really want to be looking in, not at a needy approval seeking way, but in an informal, hey, how was that client meeting? Anything I could do better next time? Did that work for you? What could I do next to make that easier? Next, you've got to ask your supervisor, your hiring manager, how do I demonstrate to you that I'm ready to go to the next level? First of all, you get credit for guts, for asking. That's a tough question. And also, you may just get some answers. And even if you don't, that's really telling. I see so many people who are left just hanging. I mean, sometimes for years, hoping to move up in the organization without any real clear guidance on how, when, how they're being measured, why somebody else is moving up and they're not. If you're in a big organization, make it your business to understand if you've got those complicated hiring levels. And I worked with one company where some of the assistant level folks couldn't figure out at first why they weren't able to move up. And guess what? There was a gap in the levels, those 1 through 39 complicated levels, the hoops you had to jump through. And that was really hard. And the only solution when somebody finally figured it out and said, what do I do? I'm a level 6, but there is no level 7 or level 8. I said, you got to rewrite your job description and call it something else. And that's what they did. And lo and behold, level 6 jumped to level 9. So you've got to find out in any situation, even in a smaller company, take a look around, see how advancement happens. And in any of those situations, big, small, in between, be bold enough to say to your boss, I am so grateful to have been able to bring, you name the results, XYZ to the organization. I would love the opportunity to bring even more value. What do you need to see from me to make it clear that I'm ready for the next level? And then ask for specifics. You want to know what exactly that means, not just some vague, hey, soon, you're doing great, good for you. Ask for specifics, drill it down. And if you can't, if you got a slippery one, that's going to tell you a lot. And don't be left hanging with a, hey, eventually, or pretty soon, or you're next up. Find out what that means. And this is delicate. This is really delicate, but ask for an estimate of what that looks like in your boss's opinion. Your boss may have bosses and bosses and bosses above him or her. But if they say, don't know, and you get the sense they're not going to bat for you now or possibly ever, maybe time to look around. And if they say, here's what I need in the next 6 months, here's what I need in the next year, you've got something to work towards. And if they say, I just don't see moving up in the organization, it's a rare boss that's going to tell you that, but in some companies they do. They're happy for you to stay where you are, but they don't see you as making that next track. If it's never going to happen, you might get that heads up, and that's invaluable. Finally, I said 3 questions you should be asking, but here's the final one. How do I leverage my network? How do I make more out of the connections that I have? And there's an interesting study on the way men and women leverage differently. Men tend to leverage for specific jobs and things that they want to, they want an endorsement, they want a recommendation, they want information about a job. Women tend to network to get to know other people in the field. You can do both. I think you should always be leveraging your connections inside the organization, and that means spending some time building relationships. At least once a month, if not once a week, meeting someone. Big company, anybody you cross paths with. Just a, hey, I'd like to get to know you better. We're working together. We might work together. We have worked together. Let's get better acquainted. Most people are really flattered when you say that. Also, outside the organization, you want to know everyone. I can't stress this enough. When I was in entertainment, I knew everyone that could hire me or that I might be interested in hiring, including skill sets people were looking for, how much money my counterparts made. I knew where the openings were. I knew who was poachable and who wasn't. And just like I tell corporate bosses, you should always be recruiting. If you find a great person out there, build a job for them. And I tell careerists, that's all of you looking out for your own careers, always be prospecting, always be looking around. And no one can, and I've gotten this question 3 times already today. What if the boss finds out? Everyone asks that question. It's always appropriate to say, hey, I'm just looking, I'm just curious what else is out there. Because believe me, even in a small company, your boss has thought about getting acquired, selling out, bringing in a partner, things that will affect your life. It is fair for you to be looking out or outside as well. And so you've got to be asking those questions all the time. I encourage you to do that now. The best way to manage up, don't just think about your boss and making your boss look good. Think about your boss's boss. What does your boss want to look like to his or her boss? So think about what's important to them. And you may think, oh my gosh, this is total BS. My boss is all style over substance. Nothing would ever get done without me. Okay, but the boss is still the boss. What is it that's important to him? And think about that and deliver on that. That's what your job is. And if you don't like it, be looking around elsewhere, because there are opportunities in other places. Now, I want to share with you my system, the way I think of the 6 steps to career acceleration. There really is a path, and I've been asked so often. I did it early on in my career. I did it early on building a second career. I've got my third one mapped out already. I'm not ready to make my move yet, but I'm working on it. The 6 step, I forgot, I've got a bonus for you. The main reason people don't get promoted, they just lack the courage and commitment. People don't see them as somebody who's got the courage to stand up, to act on their conviction, to push back when necessary, to be the naysayer when it's appropriate. They don't feel a sense of commitment to the organization, to the job. If your boss, your supervisors, your customers feel you're halfway checked out, and this sounds like a little bit of a contradiction, that yes, you may be looking around outside, but while you're on that job, you're doing it. And nobody should ever see, hear, feel anything except that you're absolutely committed, courageous, and bold in your opinions and your actions. So even if you're a youngster in your career, and by the way, I affectionately define youngster as anybody under 30, so you can be young and be a force to be reckoned with. Believe me, I've been in a room with a lot of smart young people, in rooms with their many times seniors, who you could see, this kid is not afraid to speak up. This senior leader who's been beaten down by management is not afraid to express an opinion. That's the reason people don't get promoted. They see you as a shrinking violet, who's someone who's not going to have the courage to stand up and say what needs to be said. Okay, so the 6 steps to career acceleration. I've worked with some pretty high level folks, and I am happy to say I've taken them to even higher levels. I've worked with executives and entrepreneurs, and they've become higher level. I have even worked with entrepreneurs who became executives, and the other way around, executives who became entrepreneurs. I coached an attorney to become an elected official, which was pretty outrageous. I tell the story in You Unstuck. An environmental engineer who became an entertainment executive, and that was incredibly cool. We never thought that would happen so fast. It happened in 4 months. Unbelievable. Now, these were folks who were, desperate's not quite the right word, I will say motivated to change. They were one far more courageous than the other. It took one person about 1.5 years, but it happened. It took the other person just 4 months to make that huge leap from being an engineer in a global construction company to being an executive in an entertainment company, a big entertainment company owned by a major studio. Huge career leap. She never looked back after that. She was a media executive and went on to run companies and do amazing things. And the most important thing is they were motivated to do something that was more meaningful, more exciting, more lucrative, and we got them there. And it starts with an understanding. If you look at the bottom of this pyramid, with identifying exactly where you are, what is working and what is not working in your career right now. Then having this huge leap of faith, this bold blue sky vision of what's possible. And I love to take people far into the future where it kind of filters out all of their fears, all of their, how do I get theirs? And instead it's just be bold, envision that future that you really want. I had a good career, but I'll tell you, by the end of it, after working 18 years, launching everything from, working on Married with Children, Law and Order, Jerry Springer. I mean, every crazy show you can think of. There was not one more thing I could do. There was nowhere higher I could go. And I began to envision this career where I got to teach, speak, coach, train, write, take people to higher levels. And I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I could feel the sort of the gist of it. And I got so excited about it. And then it just became okay, I got it now. Now it started to unfold and happen. To do that, move up to that third step, you got to conquer those mindset issues. All of those things that you put in your own head, there are our own blocks and fears and concerns, all the stuff that we allow to get in the way. And, we do that to ourselves. We can be our own worst enemies. You don't need to line up for that. The world will do that to you. We got to get rid of your own internal blocks and obstacles. Then we start to look at the real world, the external obstacles. And that's the stuff that we all deal with, the lack of advancement. Maybe you're in a mature company where nobody ever leaves. Maybe you don't have such a hot relationship with your boss. Maybe you feel sort of invisible. Maybe you're missing a few key skills. Whatever those absolute real world obstacles, we got to name them. We got to overcome them. And there are lots of ways to overcome them. I worked with a kid who was so sure when it was found out that he didn't graduate from college, he would be out of there. Frankly, once it was out, nobody cared. He was so good at his job. He was a great writer. He was great dealing with the international side of business, which is, what he did. Didn't make any difference. That was an obstacle that was in his head that he thought had external manifestations that just weren't there. So you got to get past that. Then you got to look at how do you create a career blueprint? How do you break it down? How do you create a specific, actionable, no BS blueprint to get you there? Not the 10-year, hey, this is where I want to go. You got to start there, but then you got to begin to bring it down to earth and break it down. Finally, you've got to have some ironclad factors for accountability. They are so strong, they are so structured, they are so in place and embedded in you that even when stress and fear and doubt and external stuff kicks in, that you stay accountable to plan. You stay on vision. You keep going, even when the going gets tough, because you've got all these great factors, whether there are all kinds of things that I can teach and train and have shared with many people. When they kick in, you've got to see how to get past that. But the first thing you've got to do is really be committed to taking that first step, to really seeing that there is a way to build this in a strategic, thoughtful way. And as you know, I've worked with a lot of big executives, big business owners, and I love what I do. And if you're ready to take that first step, I want to help. And I'm so excited. I love sharing this information. You can probably hear it. I truly do love what I do. It's really exciting and fun that I put together something brand new, because what I do can be pretty big and pretty expensive. I work with a lot of leaders and business owners, and it's a different scale when a big company is, when Intel or Nike's footing the bill, it's different than when you are. So I put together something brand new that is so simple and so super affordable. And I mean that it is a total no-brainer for anybody who really wants to move up to the next level. So that's a long link, but we've got an easy way to get there. And Rachel's going to put it in the chat bar right now. And for everybody on the line, she's also going to send you a follow-up email tonight that's going to give you all the information. We will make sure you've got this big long ass link, so you don't have to cut and paste that, but we're going to get it to you. But here's my invitation to you, and this is my career acceleration jumpstart. And I mean, get you started package. You get some of everything that I do, including some personal one-on-one time. So Rachel, thank you, Rachel. She just put that link in there. You can just click on it, but I'm going to tell you, it'll be there. But I'll tell you what this is. And my mission is really working with people who want to accelerate, who want to be powerful leaders, who want to build their brand and their business. And I truly do want to make that my work, my mission is really to make it more accessible, more affordable, so more people have a way to work with me. I got a lot of big clients. I want to broaden the scope of what I do. So this package includes my special report. I've touched on some of these, but much more detail about the top 10 career killers that you need to know and then what to do about them. You get my You Unstuck mini book. There's just a little quote from Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos, who said, "Hey, if you're feeling stuck, this book will help you break through and take things to the next level." I've written a number of books, and like you're not supposed to name your favorite child, I guess you're not supposed to name your favorite book, but this is mine. I love it. And it's also on Kindle. If you want to grab that, you can. A lot of my clients read that in conjunction with me, but I'll give you a little mini version that'll give you a great assessment that I love. And there's more. You're also going to get a private coaching session with me, and that's an hour-long session. We'll do it by Skype or phone if you're somewhere else. And by the way, that's $500 value right there if you were to book that with me. But I don't do a lot of one-off kinds of sessions because it takes a lot more to dig in, and I'm going to know that you all are real action people who are ready to dig in and do something bold. You're also going to get module 1 of my Career Success Foundation class, and that's an online course. I've got some people who I adore, and I won't put them on the spot, but they've given me great testimonials. You can find those on my website at libbygill.com under online course. You'll get a lot of information, a video, all the download about what this course is. But what I'm going to give you is, there are 2 ways you can do this. I'm going to give you the first module, which is really about where am I now, what works, what doesn't work, what do I need to do next, what do I need to know about myself. It's really an invitation to dig deep, and I'm going to give you that. You can take it self-directed on your own. You can start anytime. We could start you tonight or tomorrow, or you can wait. And in May, I'm going to start another, I call it the VIP Mastermind, where it's not only the course, but it is a led call. I lead a live coaching call. Emma does it with me too. Not only is she a brand master, but she's a certified coach and does these coaching sessions with me as well. And it's really great to have another point of view. And I'm going to let her chime in just a second here, because I sound like I'm going to give you Ginsu knives in a minute, don't I? I promise I won't do that. But there is more. And that's if you decide you want to take the whole course. I'm giving you the first module and you just take that. But if you decide you want to take the rest of the course, I'm going to give you a $1,000 discount on the course. It's a $3,000 course, $29.97 to be exact, since I like sevens, and you're going to get $1,000 off of that course. But here is, and that's kind of my super biggie bonus to all of you. And the reason I didn't do a replay, and I'll tell you, some people already, some of my Europeans said, no, I can't stay up all night. And I felt really bad. So a couple of people that wrote me specifically, I'll offer this to them as well. But I wanted people who are ready to take action, who stick with me. And you're also going to get a call with Emma. And Emma, I'm going to unmute you. I know we were getting a little feedback, and it may have been on my side. I think this is you, Emma. Is that you or Rachel?
I am. I'm unmuted, I hope.
You are.
Okay. Yes. Listening to you intently, Libby.
Oh, listening to me, talking faster, a mile a minute. But Emma, tell us about the brand consultation that we're also going to offer, that you're going to give everybody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Eager to speak with people that are keen to look at who they are, what they're about, what their story is, and how they communicate that. That's really my specialty, is figuring out what your brand is and looking at how you can communicate that. And if you are already communicating that, how successful is it?
Ah, that's so good. And the forms that can take, and you see here on the screen, it can be your LinkedIn profile. It might be Emma telling you how to add a video. It can be a homepage video, looking at your social media. It's a real expert saying, hey, here's what's working, here's what's not working, and here's what I recommend you do. And that is invaluable for all of you. And so, Emma, thank you. And bless you here. It's just a delight talking to Emma, who's just moved here from London. And we're thrilled to have her on the team.
Oh, thank you, Libby. And yeah, looking forward to speaking to everybody. It's you love what you do, and I really do love what I do. So yeah, happy to speak with people and listen to their story.
Thank you, my dear. And as Emma would say, we'll crack on. So let's crack on with the rest of the webinar here. So here's this acceleration package. I see a couple of people jumped off because they thought, oh, I'm being pitched now. But truly, I wasn't kidding when I said this would be a great value for you. If I put all that stuff together, just my package, Emma, I think I've undervalued it at $597 plus the $1,000 off on the course. So it really is a good high value package. It's less than $200. So for all of that we are sharing with you, and that is the You Unstuck excerpt. It's the coaching, the 10 killer career killers package, a session with me, a session with Emma, the first module of the course, $1,000 off on and the course is an orientation call, a wrap-up call, and 6 modules, all of which Emma shot, by the way. This is where we met. And it's really high value, a lot there. You can take the entire course for less than $2,000, but you get to try it out for $197. And so if you say yes, oops, I put the wrong link up there. That's not right. The link is in the sidebar right here in your control panel. It will also be in the email that is going to be sent to you by Rachel tonight. And Rachel's standing by right now. She's watching and listening, and she knows who's here. And by the way, just so I can make this, like, as I said, a total no-brainer for you. There's not much more I can do except say, if you're not happy, if you didn't like that module, you don't think the excerpt, the call with me, the call with Emma is worth it, we'll give you your $197 back. So there's absolutely no reason for you to say, okay, you got me, I'll give it a try. So I really wanted to make this, what else do I need to give you? That's all we can really do. I mean, that's what I'm hoping is going to get you started. And as I said, Emma and I both, and Rachel, that's sweet Rachel right there, Rachel Kane, who has worked with me for, 5 years now. You go to the link in the control panel. You can link on that. Sorry, I'm ready for dinner. You can link that right now. Just click on that link, or you can do it in the email that we'll be sending you. You purchase it for your $197. You watch for the email that you'll get from us. If you have any problems at all, just email Rachel@libbygill.com and she will help you out. But we've made it as easy for you to take advantage of this as we possibly can. I'm giving you, I think, a lot there for the investment, because we want you to work with us. We really want to work with people who are the high chargers of the world. And so let the journey begin. That, I'll say, is the bridge to across a river in Bhutan, where I journeyed not too long ago. And that just speaks to me as far as adventure, fun, excitement, and trying something new. So I welcome you all to jump on that link to follow up on the email that you get. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do too, even though I had said I wouldn't do it, and I'm going to turn the recording off. I'm going to stay on the line for just a minute here. And if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them, either about this package itself or just about something that's going on in your career. So thank you again for being here. And I'm going to turn the recording off and answer any questions. And if you have any for Emma, I'll unmute her so we don't get any feedback. Thanks, everybody.